Hello and welcome back to another AP3 video. In today's video, we'll be going over AP Environmental Science topic 5.14, Integrated Pest Management. So what's Integrated Pest Management, or the abbreviation of it's IPM? Well, IPM is a combination of methods used to reduce and eliminate pest species. It includes biological, physical, and chemical compounds. Now, the goal is reducing the amount of chemical pesticides used to reduce the pesticide treadmill and poisoning of non-target species and humans. So one way is, again, biological controls, and biological controls are going to be living controls that control pest species. Basically, an example is introduction of natural pest predators, checking on pest species. And the physical controls are going to be physical controls eliminating or try to get rid of pest species. An example can be barriers protecting crops, and it can also be traps, tilling, screens, weed blockers, and fences. And then we have chemical compounds. Like chemical compounds, it's broad spectrum, and not only hurting targeting species, but it can also hurt non-targeting species as well. So it's a broad spectrum. So it targets, it hurts target and non-target species. So this is going to be the last resort, and we'll wipe out any pest that's there. An example is a poison. An example is poisons that kill pest species. And then we have crop rotation. And one season you put a particular crop, and the next season you use a different crop. But why do it? So basically, well, crops become specialists and start accumulating in numbers. And if you have the same crop year after year, you're going to have lots of eggs in the soil. Pests will adapt to that area and evolve in that area. Now, if you switch to a different crop, some of the pest species will be eliminated, and the new crop might get new pests, but those pests will compete with the previous pests. And it basically minimizes the amount of pests. And then we're going to have intercropping. And intercropping, there's going to be many different crops planted next to each other. Now, most pest species are specialists. So if you have two different types of crops, you're going to have two different types of pests, and there might be one common predator, and that keeps those numbers in check. Basically minimizing the damage caused by pests. And pests competing with each other, other pest species, again, keeping the numbers in check. Now, IPM doesn't want to kill all architectural pests or agricultural pests. These organisms are part of the trophic spectrum of the ecosystems, and killing isn't sustainable and ideal in terms of biodiversity. So, the heavy use of chemical pesticides can cause harm to the environment. The goal of IPM is to decrease the amount of chemical pesticides used, because we went over what it can also hurt target and non-target species, and there's a lot more problems. They target non-target species. For example, mantises is going to die of an insecticide just like other grasshoppers eating a particular crop. And I picked mantis because this is an example of a biological control, because mantises help kill pesticides that can hurt the crop, so the crop can maximize its production. Now, it can also end up in the food chain. For example, insects can get the pesticide on them, and birds can eat the pesticide or pick it up, and throughout their lifetime, they could accumulate quite an amount of that type of pesticide. And then the chemical pesticides, once our crops and it starts raining, could wash up in our water supplies. Now, we need the water supplies sustainable as we use those water supplies, and organisms in the water are also going to be affected by those pesticides. Now, if we use IPM to try limiting the amount of chemical pesticides, as we need our water resources as well. So we want to use IPM to reduce the amount of chemical pesticides, because we need the water supplies a lot. And last thing we're going to talk about in this topic is human health. A large portion of chemical pesticides over a prolonged life is going to affect other human life. And it can cause rashes, nausea, diarrhea, and blindness. And the herbicide chemical artemisinin has a link to an endocrine disruptor in frogs. So now the last thing we're going to talk about is going to be the benefits and drawbacks of IPM. The benefits: it can decrease the amount of chemical pesticide spray on crops. It can lead to economy savings, and it's sustainable, allowing water supplies to be used time and time again. It's going to only target species, minimize loss of pollinators, it's going to minimize the loss of pollinators such as bees and ladybugs, minimize health risk, and decrease pesticide treadmill. The drawbacks: it's going to be complex, slow, and expensive. That's everything we need to know for topic 5.14. This is another AP3 video. Thank you for watching.